Let's read Proverbs 28:11. The rich are wise in their own eyes. The rich are wise in their own eyes, but the poor who has understanding sees them through. The rich are wise in their own eyes. The poor who has understanding sees through them. This is the first problem with this text, is that, and this is going to be uncomfortable for us, but when we hear the rich, we think of other people. But if the original hearers of this in 800 BC, if they saw how we live today in these nice cushioned seats and an air-conditioned auditorium with all these fancy lights and computer technology that they don't understand, they would call us spoiled, rich. They'd call us rich. Spoiled, sure, spoiled. Maybe Solomon in all of his splendor is more wealthy than us, but we, 99.999% of folks that lived at that time would call us rich. And that's uncomfortable because then many passages which we just dismiss about the rich in the Bible applies to us. We're paid for skills, and that can go to our heads. There's a very famous example recently where a very famous billionaire who's good at, you'll figure this out. He's very good at building electric cars and sending rockets into space. And he thought, I'll make the government more efficient. And so he got a dream team together. And there's still work going on to try to make the government more efficient. But he was immensely frustrated when it came time to make the budget because none of those changes were put in stone by Congress. And in fact, all of the billions that he saved, the $2 trillion were added to the deficit from the budget, right? And in comparison, as the poor who had understanding, I saw through him, you know? It's like, you fool, why did you think you could do politics? All right, okay. Mark 4 is the parable of the sower. And if you know this, that you have like the guy who's scattering seeds, and then as the seed grows, there's things that happen, like there's shallow soil that burns it up, or there's plants that choke it out, right? And when Jesus explains the parable, he says like that, well, this is the good news, right? And as the good news brings a harvest in our hearts, a spiritual growth, there's a temptation that the pride of life and the deceitfulness of wealth would choke out your spiritual growth. What I'm about to say is crazy, but I also think it will be helpful. It's already scary to confess sin, to find somebody and say like, hey, I'm struggling with this. I think in our culture, it's even crazier to talk about what you spend your money on. And I would encourage you to find someone to share your last month's credit card statement with. I would encourage you to talk about giving, how much you give. Now, huge warning, just like hit pause for a second. Do not have this conversation with people that you don't trust. Don't lead like, hey, I think you'd be a trustworthy person. Let's try it on this, you know? The other thing is spending over a month is one thing, but talking about giving, like let's say, I give 10%, a typical tithe, and this is the amount that I make. Now they can just figure out how much you earn a year. And I just don't think that's going to be that helpful to you. We already can do this with people's homes on Zillow. I think it's awful. It leads to envy in different ways. I don't encourage you to do the same thing with your salaries. Don't tell everybody what you make. Don't ask what they make. But you can still have great conversations about what you spend it on. And you can still have great conversations about how you give and why you give it. And so so the big warning, but I still think this is going to be a really great conversation for you to have. You know, take your note card into that conversation as well. Pray over your dreams. Pray over the treasures.